Earlier this week, the Queen gave a virtual opening address to the COP26 climate summit. In it, she highlighted her husband's passion for the environment and called on world leaders to put their words into action.
This is a duty I'm especially happy to discharge, as the impact of the environment on human progress was a subject close to the heart of my dear late husband, Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. I remember well that in 1969 he told an academic gathering, "If the world pollution situation is not critical at the moment, it is as certain as anything can be that the situation will become increasingly intolerable within a very short time. If we fail to cope with this challenge, all the other problems will pale into insignificance."
I'm delighted to welcome royal biographer and, of course, top royal journalist as well. In fact, Prince Philip's biographer, no less. It's Robert Jobson. Hi, Robert.
Hi, Mark.
Very interesting and moving that the Queen should invoke the memory of her much-loved late husband, Prince Philip.
I think so. I mean, obviously, when researching the book on Philip that I did, Prince Philip's Century, he was, he's a founding father of the World Wildlife Fund. So, he really was ahead of his time in his thinking. Obviously, he's influenced Prince Charles and Prince William along the way. And I think it was lovely that she referred to him in that way. And he travelled the world on the Britannia, actually, most of the time, and took some incredible photographs, but researched it and wrote some very good books on the natural world that we live in.
I'm not one to criticise the Queen. I think she's a peerless member of the British establishment. I adore the lady. I won't apologise for saying that, Robert. But did it raise an eyebrow that she intervened on the environmental debates?
Well, I mean, the reality is she's, as head of state, as she's also head of the nation. And yes, people talk about not being political, but the very role itself as head of state is a political position. The only issue that she's got to avoid constitutional problems, Mark, is not to be bipartisan. And, both parties, the major parties agree, Labour and the Conservative Party, the government, agree on the position of climate change. In fact, the Labour Party had in their manifesto in 2019 that they wanted reduction by 45% across party. Now they're coming up with this reduction of 50% by 2030. So she's not really being controversial in that respect because she's not causing a problem between the two major political parties.
Now, the judge, Robert, examining the allegation of sexual abuse by Prince Andrew, has set a target period for a trial next autumn. New York Judge Lewis Kaplan made the comments in the second hearing involving both the Duke of York and Virginia Giuffre's legal teams. He said in another era, he would have set a trial date immediately, but due to COVID precautions, it would need to be delayed until September or December 2022. So more pain for Prince Andrew. The judge's comments come just 4 days after Prince Andrew's legal team filed documents asking the judge to dismiss the case. So what do you think about this, Robert? What's going on?
Look, I think at this particular stage, Prince Andrew's lawyers are sort of moving up a gear. They were more aggressive in their stance in what they said to the court, that they refers, I think, to Virginia Giuffre's past, her sex kitten antics. I think that was part of the expression that was used in there. But it looks increasingly like that Prince Andrew's going to have to give evidence in America. And I think that, in my opinion, that will be the best thing for him, because if he has to do that and he has to come out fighting, he has to defend himself, then, and like in the same way that he has done in terms of what his lawyers said, it's the only way he's going to have any sort of future going forward. I mean, not everybody believes what Virginia Giuffre said, but pretty much everyone believes that his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, a convicted paedophile, at the very least unwise, otherwise pretty sordid friendship. The guy was clearly, you didn't have to scratch the surface too deeply to see that this guy was a bit of a sleazebag, and what the Duke was doing with him as a friend, one can only, have speculation on. I mean, he was a very rich man. Maybe that was the motivation. But the Duke of York will now have to come out fighting. He'll have to defend himself. I think in this, even though it's a civil case, and he'll have to. There'll probably be quite murky areas, because I'm sure that her lawyers are going to come up with all sorts of suggestions they haven't made already in the public and in the media, and he's going to have to come out fighting.
But based upon the timeline outlined by this US court, we've got at least another year of this, Robert.
Yeah, it makes it very difficult, Mark, for him to come back from this. Look, I think it is 661 now. I can't see there being a public role for him even after the events of this, because, you know, the mud does stick. Even if he does come out that there is now a case to answer, there's no money to pay this girl that's already been paid out before, this woman who's now 40s, who was a girl, of course, at the time. She's already been paid out once by Epstein before his death. And so I do think that there's no real way back from this for the Duke of York, apart from it'd be a personal satisfaction to win that case. But if he has to pay out damages, it's deeply damaging to the royal family. And, of course, that would lead to other problems where maybe they might look towards bringing in a criminal case against him if that case is indeed lost by him.